And this here on your screens is Dominique Aegerter. In fact, contrary to the graphic there, that's Dominique Aegerter, who is Swiss and the World Cup standings leader with 123 points after round 3 in Mugello. We are in fact halfway through the season now after the cancellation of the Finnish Grand Prix. Aegerter finds himself ahead of Eric Granado and Matteo Ferrari, and that is exactly how they'll line up on the front row of the grid here today. Neil Morrison, this race could not be better poised when you consider the championship standings. The top 6 on the grid are the top 6 in the standings.
Yeah, quite, exactly. And that's the trio that we want to see fighting at the front of the MotoE races here this weekend. Matteo Ferrari put it on the front row for the first time this season. And we have had quite a strange weekend. Obviously, FP1 map was wet. It was so wet and miserable during FP2 they actually cancelled the session. So most of these guys have only had 10 minutes of dry setup time. Which happened in qualifying yesterday, obviously. So a lot of guys you think will not have quite the perfect setup or even really the track experience for this race. So I think that means everything could be quite bunched up.
Yeah, that'll be a very exciting prospect indeed then, Neil, won't it? When we cast our minds back to a year ago when we were here, we had one of the best races of the season. The top 3 covered by a single second. Eric Granado versus Jordi Torres versus Alessandro Zacconi. What a blockbuster MotoE race that was, with the Brazilian taking a victory here at the Dutch TT. Will we see more of the same here today? That's the big question.
Yeah, big day for that man who was just on your screens there, the 27 of Mattia Casadei. He had a costly crash out of the previous race at Mugello, which saw him drop down to 4th in the standings. But Dominique Aegerter coming here very much as the man in form. His record has just been absolutely stellar all season long, on the podium in every single race bar one. And in that race he was off the podium. He was 4th, so talk about that for consistency from the Swiss rider. Yeah,
not just in this series, but also, as you mentioned, in the World Supersport Championship as well. Dominique Aegerter on the form of his life. And what about Eric Granado? Can he stop him, perhaps? We'll find out a little bit later on. We'll be going racing in just about, well, just over 5 minutes' time. No warm-up lap for MotoE, of course, here. It's just lights out and away we go. I do believe we got Fran Wild down there, actually, at the moment. I'll just pass down quickly, Fran, if you're listening, just to give us an indication. What's the atmosphere like down there? These will be the best conditions, I suppose, we've had all weekend.
They will indeed, yeah. It's lovely and warm, maybe too warm for the jacket that I chose before I realised that. And there are a lot of people still here. It's a great atmosphere, lots of noise. I think they will still be much louder than the bikes, even when we head off down to turn 1. And I was just about to ask Dommy if he will give us a couple of words. He seems to not be leaning away, so I'll take that as a yes. How are you feeling today with these conditions? It looks pretty good now after that brief rain earlier.
Yeah, for sure it was a long day now, and we will fight hard in this race, 8 laps. The condition, I think, yeah, looks okay for these 8 laps, so try to push hard and yeah, make a good race, make a good show, and take some important points.
Like you said, points are important. You're 29 clear. Is that affecting anything today, or is it just race by race?
No, it's still 6 races to go, so my goal is to fight for the podium, and then I will try hard.
Thank you, best of luck.
Thank you.
Cool, fair enough. First goal is got to be the podium. Dominique Aegerter has 2 wins so far this season, then 2 of the last 3 races. Frankly, all he needs to do, should anybody not be able to chase him down, is just get as many podiums as possible for the rest of the season. That can be him wrapping up his first MotoE title.
Yeah, absolutely. Granado and Ferrari really need to try and stop the Dominique Aegerter freight train coming into this weekend. We just saw Hector Garzo on our screens. He's starting from the front of the 3rd row. 7th place for him. And then how good is it to see this man back in the action? Bradley Smith making his first appearance of the MotoE World Cup this year after missing 3 previous rounds due to injury. And it's hardly ideal preparation for Bradley. He's basically had just 1 10-minute session to get acquainted to this bike at this track after missing 3 of the previous rounds. So Smith, I think, will just be keen to get a good finish and build up some experience today.
Very respectable times though yesterday in qualifying. He was 1.5 seconds off pole position, qualified in 8th place ahead of Marc Alcoba and Xavi Forés. But this is your front row then, Matteo Ferrari with Eric Granado in the middle, and then of course we'll have Dominique Aegerter starting from pole. It's nearly race time here at the Dutch TT. It's MotoE time in front of a pretty well packed out house. Well then, let's get a full rundown of the starting grid, ladies and gentlemen. We have Dominique Aegerter starting from pole position, Eric Granado second place from Matteo Ferrari in third. Casadei is fourth, starting ahead of Pons in the middle and Canepa on the outside. Row 3 will be Hector Garzo, Bradley Smith and Marc Alcoba. Xavi Forés. Jordi Torres also returning this weekend. He will be giving it his best shot whilst riding a little bit injured and overcompensating for that broken leg from before. Kevin Zanoni on the outside of the fourth row. Row 5, Kevin Manfredi, Alex Escrige and Maria Herrera, Alessio Finello and Unai Oradre replacing we have Xavi Cardalus, who's out injured from the last race as well. Hikaru Akubo did not actually qualify yesterday, technically speaking. He had a crash before setting a proper flying lap. But good to see he's back on the grid here today.
Yeah, Kubo had to go to the medical centre after his crash in qualifying. He didn't set a lap, as Matt said, so he basically has had no dry track time whatsoever. So a big task for the Japanese rider coming through from 18th on the grid. But a few names to look out for in the early laps for sure. Jordi Torres starting from 11th, the reigning champ, making his comeback from injury. Kevin Zanoni has been one of the faster guys in this category in the last 2 rounds, so watch out for him coming through from 12th.
And keep your eye on Hector Garzo as well. He's 8th in the standings. He's had well, it was actually poorest result of the season apart from a crash that he had in the second race in Spain last time out, but he's looking a little bit more comfortable here this weekend, having qualified in 7th on the grid. I'm not sure who I would put my money on, Neil, to be honest with you. Eric Granado's got some great form here. He is raw speed, isn't he? And that second position on the grid is his best qualification of the season so far, after a run of 3 fourth positions in qualifying previously.
Absolutely, and Granado's been super sure of collecting points and putting together a steady run of results. But I think now is the time for the number 51 to attack. He has to start making up ground on Dominique Aegerter.
And sadly for Jordi Torres, you've got to say that will be World Cup ambitions over for him this year. He will not win it again this season, but he will be working his way back to just competing and getting the best results he can at this present round before we get back to action later on after the full summer break. 30 seconds to go then, and MotoE will burst into life once again in front of thousands of Dutch fans here at the TT Circuit Assen. One of the best possible circuits for a series like MotoE. Some superb braking opportunities. It's fast and flowing. We've got 8 laps of MotoE mayhem ready to go, and I cannot wait for it. The final moments of limbering up, calming the nerves, adrenaline spiking. It is gonna be hell to leather from the start of this race. The lights will come on, will burst into life once again, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go then. The lights are on and they're off, and it's a clean start from just about everybody. But who will get the whole shot down and towards turn 1? It looks like it could be the number 51 of Eric Granado. But who's the last of the late breakers? It is in fact Eric, going toe to toe with Casadei, who goes around the outside, and it's Ferrari who storms into the lead. Casadei way wide. Aegerter slots into second place as well. Granado pushed back to 4th. It's his teammate Pons in 3rd.
Yeah, super stuff from Pons, who gains 2 positions. Casadei was way wide at turn 1 and he's underneath. I think Granado at turn 4 is tight and hectic, but already it looks as though Matteo Ferrari has opened up a bit of a gap at front.
Yeah, you've got to be oh so careful coming out of turn 5. Destruven there. It is such a tricky corner, but it's Ferrari leading down the back straight here in towards turn 6s and 7. This is one of the fastest sections of the track. Look at this, the huge corner speeds in MotoE. Pons gaining on Aegerter there, but running a little bit wide. Will he get overtaken by his teammate? Yes, he does. That is textbook from Granado, the Brazilian.
Brilliant stuff from Granado, who has to attack right now because he can see the faster guys in this category up ahead of him, and Pons was just a little bit too hot into the right-left flick at the end of the back straight, but Granado pounced on that little mistake there, and Casadei looking like he was going to pounce on another one just there on Pons.
Seemingly all safely through at the moment then for all our riders. Great to see as we come down the proper fast back straight here. We'll be coming to Mandervejen, and then we got Hogerheide, the fast right and left here before Ramshoek up towards the final chicane then. The Gert Timmer, the GT chicane. Here we go then, the first major overtaking opportunity to finish the lap, and they've closed up on Ferrari just there. But look at the corner speed. The Granado carries through the first part of that turn there as we look at Canepa and Smith. The two teammates, they will cross the line positions 8th and 9th, but to finish that first lap, it's Ferrari out front.
And look at Casadei underneath Pons. That's a nice move at turn 1 to put him into 4th. So Casadei obviously looking super aggressive early in this race with that early move at turn 1. That didn't quite work out, but he's managed to recover, compose himself, and now sits 4th.
Got to be so careful feathering the throttle through these whole sections here. Turns 2, 3, 4, and then into 5 here. Careful on the throttle, out of it. Not too much throttle with too much lean angle. There is so much torque going through the rear wheel and the Michelin tyres that we have on these MotoE bikes. So easy to fling it at the scenery. Good job, there's so much runoff there particularly. But look at this, top 3 in the championship at the moment. All down the back straight, fighting with each other.
Absolutely, and Pons needs to be a little careful in 5th. Mark Alcoba, who impressed us so much in the second race at Mugello, he's looking quite confident of making a move through to 5th place. So watch out for the Spaniard. The number 70 is Granado, is all over the back of Dominique Aegerter in 2nd, and we have seen this year so far that Aegerter and Granado do take a little bit of time to get up to full speed in these races, so I think the fact that they're 2nd and 3rd early on bodes well for both of them.
Of course, with that lack of dry track time, I mean, these are not the same motorcycles that these riders used last year as well in MotoE. They've lost about 15 or so kilograms. It's completely changed the sort of setup and the geometry of the bike in terms of the balance of weight and the feeling on the front end. And with that lack of dry track time, well then, they're doing incredibly well to be running the pace that they are. This comes down to MotoE experience. Aegerter defends his line into the GT chicane, catches up Ferrari there, sacrifices his line a bit. You can see the difference in line choices. They're learning their way around every single lap here. These are the best conditions they faced all weekend long.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race then to Mattia Casadei, who manages to take a couple of tenths of a second out of the guys just ahead of him. You can see Granado here. There are points on this track where he is really getting held up by Dominique Aegerter. Certainly through turn 2, it looked like the Brazilian was quite a bit faster. But all the while, Ferrari just holding firm out front with about a tenth or 2 tenths of a second, an advantage in the lead.
Well, that 1:43.3 is 3 tenths of a second, 0.3 quicker than the pole position time from Q2 yesterday then. So that gives you an indication of how much better these conditions are, how quickly these guys are learning out on track. Then we got a proper freight train of Energica Ego courses then piling in towards turn 7. You can see the bike unsettling on the change of direction there. Oh, so difficult, and Alcoba looking very menacing on the tail of Pons. Up from 9th place on the grid is the Spaniard.
Yeah, and decent return to action for Bradley Smith, making his first race appearance of the year in this category. He's already deposed his teammate Nicolo Canepa, who's having a bit of a trickier fare out there. Smith just a little back of this lead group of 7 in 8th, but still fine return from Bradley, the number 38.
This is a rider well out of practice. Got injured from the Le Mans 24-hour race just before the first race of the season, unfortunately for Smith. So then it's a shame we haven't actually seen him so far. What could he have done in the series? Were he here from the get-go? And that trio at the beginning is now turned into a quartet, and that's a move and a half from Eric Granado. That's all confidence. That is through Ramshoek. That is not a move we see very regularly in any category.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Granado. That does require
a bit of a twitch from Aegerter there. Sorry, Neil.
Absolutely, yeah. Full commitment needed there for the number 51. And Granado, unsurprisingly, is the fastest man on track. Fastest lap of the race, 1:43.2. That's a tenth quicker than what Casadei did previous time. This is Jordi Torres, who's made a steady start to affairs in 10th, but don't be
the all-time lap record actually belongs to Alessandro Zacconi. It's a 1:42.6. So while these riders are getting faster and faster at 1:43.2, still some way off that. Goes to show what these bikes are capable of with a full dry track of running throughout the weekend then. But it's the Brazilian versus the Italian, the most recent race winner versus last year's Dutch TT winner here versus each other. Here, a showdown we have with 4.5 laps to go then. They've just got a little bit of breathing space between themselves and Aegerter in 3rd, but it does seem that Aegerter can really catch up in that final flowy section around the back of the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark Alcoba's just been given a track limits warning. He was wide again there, but I think within the track limits on turn 7. But you can see here visibly, Eric Granado has basically slashed that 0.2 of a second advantage that Matteo Ferrari did have over the past couple of laps. It's down to 1/10, not even that, I would say, at the moment, as they come on to this back straight out of Dijkersloot and on to Mavenmeer. And Granado, could he make another move into the Ramshoek?
Yeah, what a part of the circuit this is. A joy to watch on board with a
Here he
MotoE
goes.
bike. And what a move.
Wow.
Once again, absolutely sensational from last year's race winner then. Eric Granado, well, he has 2 wins so far this year. Another podium to add to that as well. That was kind of gifted to him thanks to a penalty for Andrea Mantovani back in Mugello. But he's back to his very best, is the Brazilian. And another fastest lap of the race so far here. But look at Casadei up the inside of Aegerter in towards turn 1. They're not letting them get away, Neil.
Yeah, certainly aren't. And Casadei is looking very menacing as well in third, isn't he? Loves that turn 1 as an overtaking opportunity. He's tried it already a couple of times before and succeeded. And now he does appear to be a little faster than the championship leader, Dominique Aegerter, who's not quite been showing his best form just yet.
We haven't noticed this quite yet, though, did we? Because Matteo Ferrari in those first corners did manage to get back in front of Granado then. So back down the front, the back straight we come once again. It will require another beast of a move from Granado once again through Ramshoek. You got to be, well, if we can overtake through that first sector, that's good enough for Ferrari. But, of course, it's nearer the final lap as he sends it up the inside again, moves him wide. Brilliant stuff from Eric once again. Toe to toe, neck and neck, shoulder to shoulder. MotoE at its very best, everybody.
Yeah, and Casadei's got beaten up as well after taking third earlier in the lap from Aegerter. Aegerter's got back through, and now Mikel Pons has taken fourth from Casadei, so it's all kicking off just behind here. But we basically have a 6-rider fight at the front of MotoE.
Oh, goodness me, I was very concerned after last weekend's racing that I was going to lose my voice coming into this weekend. I wasn't feeling overly up to it, but it's going to do its very best for me to lose it now. This is brilliant action, and will Ferrari learn from Eric through Ramshoek? No, Eric's corner speed is just sensational through there. He guards his line perfectly as Aegerter looks up the inside of Ferrari. The Swiss rider, the series leader, is through into second place.
Aegerter has generally been sensational in the second half of MotoE races so far this year, and he was fourth at the start of that previous lap there, but he's managed to come back to second.
Ferrari back on the inside, nearly wipes him out, did Eric? Oh my goodness me, that was as close as it gets. He was crossed up sideways like he was flat tracking at Rossi's ranch. Just unbelievable, and that gives Eric a bit of breathing space. He won't know he has just yet, but will it be enough to give him some kind of advantage and confidence to take through this lead? And Ferrari, all sorts of unsettled out of the seat. It's really upset him. That is surely the win gone for the number 11.
Wow, he's been pretty ragged, hasn't he, in this lap? He was so close to wiping out Eric Granado. So fortunate that both of those guys didn't go down. And then that moment accelerating out of Distruben. So Ferrari now has lost big ground, back in 5th. And you have to say he's out of the fight for at least the top 2 positions.
Goodness me, that was absolutely blockbuster stuff from the number 11. Crikey, O'Reilly. It's completely unsettled me as well, so I can't imagine how he must feel. This is why these guys are pros. The ability to get back into the zone, to concentrate once again, to not go gun-ho with the throttle as they come out of sections like these. Onto the back straight we come then. So Ferrari's in 5th. He's got Alcoba ahead of him, and he's got Casadei in 3rd. But Eric Granado is just pinning it through Hogeheide and in towards the Ramshoek, where he's so fast in comparison to pretty much everybody else. Aegerter, though, is so good on the run in towards the GT chicane. He closes up on him. He's lining him up, and it'll be 2 laps to go when we cross the line this time around.
Yeah, Aegerter was absolutely sensational into the GT chicane. They got a great run through the Ramshoek, where Granado has been super strong all race long, but you can see they're bunching up again. It did look as though Granado and Aegerter had a bit of a lead, but Casadei, he does look very menacing. He's able, anytime there's a bit of free track ahead of him, to close that right back up.
Well, it's been such good, clean, quality racing so far. It's been a bit on the edge at times, but this is just MotoE at its best. And Aegerter moves up the inside. Eric's been leaving the door quite wide open into Distruben. And Aegerter runs wide. He runs way out. Alcoba, and ponds onto the grass then. He is flat tracking at Rossi's Ranch. That's his invitation. And they're 3 abreast down the back straight. Casadei goes into the lead, tipping into turn 7. Wow, that was just fantastic.
Back 2-1 from Mattia Casadei. I just said that he was the danger man, and for once I managed to get something right.
Goodness me, Neil, there's a first time for everything, isn't there? Isn't it brilliant? Aren't we just about getting it right 3 years into this game? Casadei out front then with Granado taking back 2nd place.
Granado is not finished, is he? That was a crazy couple of corners there through Distruben. Aegerter basically stood Granado up, and then, well, I guess that cost both of them drive. Coming out onto the back straight, onto the Veenslang. Casadei absolutely nailed it. Now, what can he do with complete clear track ahead? The number 27. We haven't seen him in the lead just now. Does he have the pace and the speed to get clear? I don't think he does.
Watch him close up on here. Casadei, he's got to guard his line because he'll know how fast Eric Granado is through Ramshoek. And what about Aegerter breaking it into the GT chicane? He makes a move on Eric Granado. He's got it. Oh, he clips him. He nearly knocks him off. He completely unsettled Granado. And we're on to the final lap. Ferrari's come back into the fray as well. Granado shakes his head. It's 1 lap to go here at the Dutch TT, and it's as good a racing as you're ever likely to see anywhere in the world, and we've got it right here in MotoE, ladies and gentlemen.
Fantastic stuff. Marc Alcoba takes 4th off Ferrari there. Granado basically has it all to do. You could see him shaking his head on the start-finish straight. He wasn't too impressed with the fact that Dominique Aegerter managed to clip his handlebar going into the GT chicane. He takes the lead.
He shoves him wide. That was brilliant, but Casadei punches straight back. Oh, Aegerter! He's got to be so careful with the throttle. That is 100% torque at the rear wheel for you. You've got to be so careful. Is that game, set, match for Casadei then?
It could well be. Yeah, that could be the final moment of the race. Aegerter having that big moment on the exit off Distruben. We've seen that a couple of times, but you can see the number 77 is right back in the mix. I don't think this is over, and we've seen how strong he is through the Ramshoek into the GT chicane. Expect to move late in this lap.
I don't think it's over for Eric Granado either. He's completely composed himself. He's strong through this part of the section, but is time running out for the Brazilian? Aegerter just absolutely pinning it, swarming all over the back wheel of Casadei. He's got 1 win to his name so far out this proper slower section that we've got into the ultra fast final sector. Keep an eye on the live standings here. Here we go then. It'll be Mavenmere, Holger Heider and Ramshoek, and then the breaking into the GT chicane. This is what Assen is all about, and they're coming neck and neck into the GT chicane. Alcoba's down in the background at ultra high speed. It's Aegerter making a move on Casadei. They're neck and neck. They're over. They're all. Who's it going to be? I can't believe it. It's got to be Aegerter, and it's Granado in 2nd. It was nearly a dead heat. I couldn't believe it. What a race that was. That's it at its best, everyone. Oh, wow.
Fantastic stuff. Dominique Aegerter showing exactly why he is the leader of this championship, and he extends his lead with Marc Alcoba. How good is it to see him up on his feet after he crashed out Ramshoek, on the last lap at very high speed. That is a scary place to crash, and you can see the Spaniard is in some discomfort, but I think there's more frustration that a great ride came to an end.
Oh, he proper went over. That wasn't just a front end tuck, that just went. I'd love to see another angle of that, but goodness me, that was absolutely Assen, just Assen. That was.
Thought Granado was just going to have enough to get Aegerter to the line. He almost took advantage of those two guys scrapping up ahead. Just 0.08 covered the podium men at the flag. As close as you like, and you have to say that is why Dominique Aegerter is leading this championship. The confidence to basically recover from that mistake on the exit of turn 5, to reel Casadei back in and then overtake him clinically at the final chicane was really class.
I'm absolutely breathless.
Also, man, I don't know if you saw, when Casadei was coming out of the GT chicane, I think he took his hand off the handlebar to beat the tank in a bit of frustration.
Because he nearly lost it.
And you wonder whether that allowed Granado just to nip by him across the line by 9 thousandths of a second.
Yeah.
Between 2nd and 3rd.
I mean, amazing sort of presence of mind to realise that he sacrificed it too much and he'd lost the win, but with that immediate frustration, he might have lost second place as well and could have taken it back. That was just brilliant. Oh, well, we had very limited fans in last year at the Dutch TT because of COVID-19 regulations. It's a full house this weekend. That wasn't quite a sellout, obviously, on a Saturday. But still, tens of thousands stayed out to watch one of the best MotoE races you could ever ask for. And I say that about everyone. People often tweeting me saying, can you calm down? And frankly, my response is, are you not passionate about this unbelievable racing that we are so privileged to witness week after week in MotoE? It really is some of the best out there. And that's Jordi Torres then. So he finished 9th place. And resting that leg, that would have hurt him a lot. That'll be the biggest run that he's done so far.
Yeah, you can see Torres there looking a bit awkward. This is the last lap then. Aegerter parks it in Struben. Cassidy on the cutback, then Domi gets it all out of line here. Look at that. And the front jumps up at 1.2. And from there we were thinking, okay, that's it. Cassidy, this is his race. He actually had 0.3 of a second of an advantage after that, but Aegerter somehow managed to eradicate that around the outside of Ramsuk. How much confidence does he have in the front there? And
he parked it. A full-on mirror signal maneuver, parked it in front of him.
And you can see there, Cassidy's already punching his tank and Granado is to his right. So Cassidy's frustration at missing out, I don't know if that caused him to lose second place to Eric Granado, but you can see his frustration here. He knows he's lost it, smacking his tank, and Granado just nips by 0.09 of a second to take second place. What a finish.
Oh. Yeah, that's why we love MotoE. Wow.
Well, we have had some fabulous racing in MotoE this year. I mean, Mugello, we had 2 spectacular races. One of them was, of course, won by this man. So Dominique Aegerter is really prepared to stick his elbows out and get involved in the fight. He didn't have to win that race with the 29-point advantage that he had prior to the 7th race of the season, but he's now extended that, eked that out to 34 points, and well, he really is riding like a champion in waiting, isn't he?
Yeah, he was very wounded by last year losing the World Cup. He did win the World Supersport Championship, but how much did he want to get that double series world titles to his name? And he missed out on it, okay, through his own course of his own actions, but he's very determined, more determined than ever to make sure this year is his year. And Eric Granado, welcome back to the box properly for the first time since
Jerez,
yes, just lost the name there in my head.
He was actually third in Mugello, but he got that after the podium ceremony finished because Mantovani was disqualified for front tire pressure infringement prior to the, after the race. You can see there Cassidy being congratulated. Good friends, of course, with Moto3 challenger Tatsuki Suzuki down there to congratulate him. Cassidy, it was a fine ride from him, wasn't it? After getting turn 1 all wrong on the first lap, having to go off track. I think he rejoined in about 5th or 6th, and Cassidy made some really stealthy progress through the pack. But Swiss fans in attendance, well, they got what they came to see just there. Not just the Swiss winner, but a fabulous MotoE race. One of the best I think we've seen so far.
Well, we can get with a reaction from one of the riders to it then. I mean, he's probably just starting to come down from it now. Mattia Cassidy, 3rd place, down in Pat Vermate with Fran.
He is. So, Mattia, as I said, for us, that was one of the most incredible races I can remember for a very long time. For you, I'm sure you're a little bit frustrated with 3rd position, but you were very, very fast once again and fighting at the front. Congrats on the podium. What are your thoughts now?
Yeah, I'm happy. Not at 100%, but I'm happy. We made a very good fight with the other guys. I don't do a very good line in the final chicane, but this is the race. Tomorrow there is another chance, and the team working very well. We try tomorrow to do another good race.
So calm as always. Thanks and congrats. We maybe see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mattia Cassidy, for the entertainment as well. That really is why everybody pays tickets, why everyone gets into motorcycle racing, isn't it?
Absolutely. The zen-like comments of Mattia Casadei once again in evidence just there. And that's the great thing about MotoE this year. If you don't get the result that you were expecting or hoping for in race 1, you have a second bite at the cherry on the Sunday. But what about this man? Eric Granados came so close. Well, to victory, I guess. Just, what, 7/100ths of a second in it. He's in Parc Fermé with Fran.
It was hundredths of a second, as Neil just said. And as I just said to you as well, that was amazing for us to watch. 3 of you almost in line across the line. You had a few dramas there before that last lap, but brought it back. You must be proud of that result, even if it's not quite the top step by that tiny margin.
Yeah, it was a great race, a great battle. You know, all the race fighting with a lot of riders. Unfortunately, Domi overtook me in the lap before, and I lost many time there. He touched me, and I lost, I think, 3 or 4 tenths to the front group, and I pushed all the last lap to try to have a possibility to win, but it was not possible. Luckily, I did a very good last corner, and I could take the second. But anyway, it's not the perfect result for me because Domi opened a little more on the championship, but still is a good to have a podium. I'm happy to be back here, and I hope to be here tomorrow too. So yeah, that's it. And in Portuguese, like always, foi uma corrida muito disputada. Estive na briga ali a prova inteira. Infelizmente, o Aegerter me passou na última curva ali um pouco forçado. Perdi um pouco de tempo ali na última volta, fiquei um pouco para trás, ainda assim dei o meu máximo para conseguir chegar. Fiz muito bem a última curva, consegui a segunda colocação. A vitória não veio, mas estou feliz de voltar ao pódio. Vamos trabalhar aí para amanhã conseguir melhorar esse resultado e continuar essa briga pelo título. Obrigado.
Parabéns.
Obrigado, Eric. Awesome stuff as always, Neil.
Absolutely, yeah. And Eric, a little frustrated, I guess, with the move by Dominique Aegerter into the GT chicane on the penultimate lap. Very nearly clipped handlebars, which well, they did clip handlebars, but yeah, Eric quite lucky, I guess, not to end up in the gravel on that particular instance.
You know what happened there, though, don't you? He rubbed him, and Robinson is racing. And here is the guy that rubbed him, Dominique Aegerter, and the winner once again in the most spectacular fashion. Let's hear from him, Fran.
Well, Domi, like I've said to the others, although I think you'll be the happiest of the 3 in Parc Fermé, that race was spectacular. And you just came out on top. Another 5 points of advantage as well, of course, just ahead of Eric. You must be really happy with that one.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really happy to take the pole position yesterday, to take the win. Was not the easy one. We had a big battle like MotoE races is. Yeah, in the end, I think some of the people even not know that we had the checkered flag. So we was all 8 laps. We was full attack. Nobody spent you something. So we had a great battle for sure. I'm very happy to finish on first position. 5 points gain. 34 leads in the championship. Big thanks to the Dino Volt Intact MotoE team. They make a fantastic job, and of course the people around the circuit was nice. I make a small burnout, and I think they enjoyed the burnout and also the race. So tomorrow we have another chance, and I will try hard to be again in the battle for the victory.
Well, congratulations.
Well, there it is then. Dominique Aegerter. The Swiss fans here watching in then, they were well chuffed with that. He might have rubbed Eric Granado's handlebar. The rest of us watching were rubbing our thighs at fantastic MotoE action, as always. No?
Moving swiftly on, changing topics. Yes, Dominique Aegerter's, what was that, his 3rd victory of the year. And the 3rd round in succession that he has scored a victory. He's building up a real head of steam, isn't he?
Dankjewel. Brilliant stuff then. Well, this was then the lead up to the race winning overtake, trying to go round the outside at Ramshoek. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it takes such confidence to do that, doesn't it? Round one of the fastest corners on the calendar, lined himself up fantastically well for that GT move. He was in just a little bit hot there, wasn't he? Managed to cut back and block Casadei just there, and Granado almost seized the opportunity to get by both of them.
You know, I was about to shout when they came out the final part of the GT chicane. I thought they were all going over track limits, and I thought there's no way. They've all gone in so deep. They're never going to make it. But they did. They got it turned. Oh, just quality stuff. I just see from our commentary box window, to finish off the MotoE day, we have a white stork flying overhead. What better way to round off a fantastic day of MotoE Race 1 action.
Patrick Molina in the cap there, just celebrating Dominique Aegerter's win. And, well, yeah, you don't get racing much more dramatic than that. Granado was 0.4 of a second faster than anyone else on the final lap. And I guess the lead guys, they were overtaking each other a couple of times. He was a second faster than both of them, so Granado had really had the speed, well, to win. But it didn't quite work out. But here we go, Mattia Casadei scales the podium, as did Eric Granado. But for the third time this year, Dominique Aegerter will be climbing aboard the top step.
His now blonde locks get longer and longer every time we see him. Maybe that's the source of his MotoE power, or a few extra watts, as Casadei receives his trophy. And then we have Eric Granado getting his. He has actually received, I'm reliably informed, the third place trophy for Mugello Race 1. But here he gets to receive this one on the podium as well, and spray some bubbly too. But what about the big one? Dominique Aegerter receives the race winner's trophy for the third time this season, and with that extending his championship lead. And time then, once again, for the Swiss national anthem. Oh, I like that. Not often you get in another country that for a national anthem that's not their own, such a nice reception. What pleasant people the Dutch really are here over here. So welcoming and love their motorsport, don't they? Well, let's get a look at the bubbly being sprayed amongst all the competitors then. We have got one more race in MotoE to go tomorrow.